Welcome to the Royal Daily Tea YouTube channel. Please be advised all of my videos are for entertainment purposes only, based 100% on my own opinion, my own theories, and my own research. All of my information can be found on the public domain and falls under the fair use guidelines. Please feel free to do your own research. Hello and welcome back to the Royal Daily Tea. So I did a little experiment, not very well, last week where I did release a few 1-minute royal clips for you. They're called shorts, YouTube shorts. They're about a minute long. I did a little of them because they do great for traction, and I gave a poll on my channel asking you if you wanted me to continue to do the daily updates along with my 1 or 2 longer videos, or just do the longer videos, and 72% of you said you just want me to do the 1 or 2 longer videos a week. So my feelings are a little bit hurt that you're not enjoying my 1-minute updates, but you know what? I might still do a couple of them. I'll try to make them a little bit higher quality. Next week, we'll put in a couple of little 1-minute videos, but we're going to have 2 or 3 longer videos, so don't worry. The reason why I wanted to do those smaller videos is because quite a few of you are not following me over on TikTok, and a lot of you miss out on a lot of the juicy royal tea because I don't share everything on YouTube. But don't worry, guys, I'm trying to make everybody happy. We'll come up with a happy medium. But in the meantime, I will be happy to do my 1 to 2 longer videos, even though you clearly hurt my feelings. But again, we might try it again with a better quality of those minute videos. They're just really easy to put up, but never mind. We'll work on it again. So today, guys, we're going to talk about the Harkles, and are they suffering from royal regret? And I think that they are. You know, Omid Scobie famously said in the Finding Freedom reboot that the Harkles have no regrets and that they're living their best life since Megxit, no turning back. Well, I personally don't believe that. I believe Harry and Meghan are suffering from their consequences. They're realizing that old saying, you don't bite the hand that feeds you. And what is that feeding Harry and Meghan? Well, it's the royal family. It's his titles. It's him being a prince. It's the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. No one cares about Harry and Meghan of Montecito, but he's Prince Harry. He's Princess Diana's son. He's, you know, has ties to the Queen of England. They're part of the royal family. That is their entire appeal. They have monetized themselves as royals in California. So without the title and without the connection, they really have no bankability, and quite frankly, they have very little likability. The Sussexes did not realize how that interview with Oprah Winfrey was going to backfire on them. In my opinion, that was the beginning of the end, where a lot of people who were fans of them, including myself, completely changed their opinion of the Sussexes because it became so clear how elitist, how pompous and arrogant and privileged these two people are. The bubble of, you know, bureaucracy that they live in compared to the rest of us is astonishing. When he sat on national television and cried and complained that his daddy only gave him $5 million, and how dare him not give my son the prince title. I mean, my gosh, how dare him, and how dare the British people not continue to pay for my security and my lifestyle because I am a prince and I'm entitled to this. It was really disgusting to see the two of them feel sorry for themselves, you know, crying in their golden teacups to their billionaire neighbor. I mean, wow, cry me a river. $5 million is life-changing money to 99.9% of the rest of us. To them, that's what they spend in 3 months. It's disgusting. So the Sussexes, since the Oprah Winfrey interview, have discovered they're not so bankable and likable. Now, they did the Oprah Winfrey interview after they solidified their $100 million deal with Netflix, also their multi-million-dollar deal with Spotify. However, they have yet to produce anything for either of these networks. So we know that that trip to New York City was a make or break PR moment for the couple. They have to prove not only to themselves, but to the networks that they're bankable, that they're likable, that people are going to watch their show. So when they went to New York City, that whole thing was a multitasking PR stunt. Plain and simple. They weren't really there for the Global Citizen event. That was an excuse for this PR tour. That PR tour was simply really good footage for their Netflix series, a really good way to get some photos and PR for their social media. And lastly, it was a really good tax write-off for their foundation. Seriously, it's a tax write-off. That entire $60,000 wardrobe, the $1,300 night at the Carlisle Hotel, the private jets, the security, even the donations for the $25,000 to Melba's restaurant and the 2 boxes of food that they bought that elementary school was all a tax write-off. Isn't that disgusting? It's literally a tax write-off. This whole thing was for PR, for content, and for a tax write-off. That's it. Now, behind the scenes, there's quite a bit of gossip that the duo was having a little bit of a lover spat. There's rumors that there was a major fight that went on behind the scenes. I don't have all the details, but in fact, Harry was seen one night by himself in the bar, dining by himself, drinking, where he started chatting up with other people in the restaurant. The rumor is that Meghan and Harry had some sort of fight, probably because they were receiving a lot of backlash in the press during their tour. They had an argument. They didn't talk for supposedly 24 hours, and that Meghan stood him up for dinner, and Harry went down to the bar and drank and ate by himself. Now, I don't know if that's true, but this is an alleged event that happened. And if you look at some of their pictures and some of their body language, they're not very in tune with one another, especially when they were at the New York memorial for 9/11. It was very forced. It was very fake. They were both facing away from each other. It didn't look good. It looked very awkward. It looked very forced. Again, Meghan's always clinging to Harry, and people are always saying, oh, they love each other. They're always holding hands. Look at all the PDA that the Sussexes have. And, William and Kate, they never show PDA. There is a difference between clinging to somebody inappropriately at a royal event and being professional and maybe glancing at each other lovingly, smiling, being close to each other, maybe touching someone's back. William and Kate have plenty of chemistry, plenty of PDA, but they do it appropriately. Meghan is always clinging on to Harry for dear life, overly doing it. What is she scared? He's going to fall away from her. The woman was an actress. She spent years in front of the camera, but she clings to Harry like he's her life vest, like she's mortified of the cameras. It's really unbecoming of a 40-year-old woman to be clutching onto her husband for dear life. And that whole hugging little scenario they did during their speech for the Global Citizen, oh, please. That doesn't mean they love each other. It means they love the limelight and they were hacking it up for the cameras. Anyone can do that. Anyone can pretend, oh, look at us. Aren't we cute? Let's hug. The cameras, they're cheering. That doesn't mean they're happy. It means they're happy in the moment in a crowd. Because they're 2 narcissists who adore attention. That's all that was. They were caught up in the moment. But I digress. So the Sussexes, trip to New York was not the roaring success they were hoping. Meghan and Harry realized it very quickly. You know, you were very mean to the press. You sued quite a few organizations. You refused to do interviews with people. And now you're doing a little tour and you're expecting to get positive press from the same people that you trashed. Now you want them to all show up at your event and be nice to you and take the little, take the little pretty pictures for your cotton candy PR machine. Well, sorry, but people don't like you, so they're going to report what they see. They're not going to report what you want because they're not on your payroll. So Harry and Meghan are realizing, oh, if we want to sell books, if we want people to watch our shows on Netflix, oh, if we want people to show up to our events, well, we're going to have to talk to the press now. The same people that we vilified for years, now they have to use them for PR. So it's a little hypocritical, it's a little hilarious that the same people that they vilified and hated, they actually need to be very nice to, and they need in order to sell their products. That's right, folks. You need the press. So that's something the Harkles are finding out. They're learning a very valuable lesson, and they're also learning the lesson that when they trash the royal family and then continually use their titles and want to be a part of the royal family, well, now it may not work out for you. You know, Prince Charles and Her Majesty the Queen, when Archie was born, they offered him the title of Earl of Dunbarton. Well, Harry and Meghan thought that was beneath them. They wanted Archie to be a prince. How dare them not offer them the prince title, even though the other great-grandchildren did not receive a title? They expected, Archie to be elevated and to automatically get the prince title because, quote unquote, they wanted security. Because Archie is way more valuable than anyone else's child. Archie needs to be elevated. Well, Her Majesty said no. So instead, they offered him the Earl of Dunbarton, which was a very gracious title that the Queen was going to bestow upon Archie, and they turned it down. Well, now it seems they might be a little regretful of turning down a title for their son, because now they run the risk of both Archie and Lilibet never receiving any royal titles at all. Now, as we know, when Charles becomes king, technically his grandchildren could receive a prince and princess title. But since Charles is streamlining the royal family, they may not get that title. So now their profitability and their ability to monetize themselves has been decreased. So now Harry and Meghan are probably regretting those choices and those words and those accusations that they made against the royal family, and maybe by turning down that title for Archie. Again, you don't bite the hand that feeds you, and the royal family is feeding the Sussexes, whether they realize it or not. Now, the Netflix deal is hanging on by a thread. You know, the Sussexes, when they signed that deal with Netflix, were still extremely popular and likable. But since then, it's been over a year. Their ratings have tanked to about a 30% approval rating. And this whole New York trip has blown up in their face. The controversy, the hypocrisy of them telling people, do as I say and not as I do, lecturing people at the Global Citizen event. People went there for a concert. They did not go there for Harry and Meghan, and they sure as heck did not want to hear two elite people give them a woke salad lecture. These two people going to the United Nations like they're political dignitaries or representing the royal family. They're not even working royals. They had no business even going there. They had no business going to the World Trade Center and meeting with the governor and the mayor. Again, they are not political figures. They're not even working members of the royal family. This was 100% a self-serving PR stunt, and the public could see right through it. Not only are they completely self-serving, but they are completely tone deaf. Who visits an underprivileged school wearing over $60,000 worth of clothing, $300,000 worth of jewelry, and reads from her own book? Most of those kids probably couldn't even afford to buy the book. She didn't even give them a copy of the book. Wouldn't it have been a nice gift to say, well, here's a copy. All of you can go home with a free copy. No, she read from a book, donated 2 boxes, took some photos, and they were out. Seriously, I mean, that's the equivalent of us driving over there, reading them a story, and feeding them all McDonald's lunch. It's a nice gesture, but to bring a camera crew and take photos and have people walking around documenting you while you're wearing a mic, it's so ridiculous and so unauthentic. But the cherry on the cake, besides her ridiculous winter 60,000 plus wardrobe that she wore for this tour, the ridiculous point was when they got on a private jet after going to an event that literally is for defending against poverty, equality, for vaccine, and for helping the environment. Those are the 3 causes of global citizen, and you had a global elitist duchess wearing $300,000 worth of jewelry. You had them arriving on a private jet, and you had them reading, from their own book. Where exactly is the charity besides the 2 food boxes? And they gave $25,000 to a restaurant that probably got a lot of financial assistance. Again, it was a tax write-off. This whole thing was such a self-serving event that people are sick of it. The Sussexes have taken no less than 21 private jets in 2 years. Now, a private jet, you guys, it doesn't sound like that's a really big deal. I know, but if you really think about it, according to statistics, a private jet gives off 10 times more carbon fuel than a commercial jet, and it gives off almost 50 times more than a train. So if you think about that, and the fact they've taken 21 private jets in 2 years, the amount of carbon footprint that they were putting out while they were preaching to other people to, decrease their carbon footprint. Meanwhile, they live in an 11,000 square foot home for 4 people. So it's a do as I say, not as I do. Very hypocritical with her overexpensive wardrobe, with them going to the United Nations with their very, very small donations, with her reading from her own book, and then ending it with the woke salad speech and that fake public display, and then going on a private jet home. That whole entire tour was a PR disaster. They've gotten so much backlash that I guarantee you the Netflix networks are not happy because they're turning into a laughing stock. So we just had them, come off of that horrible Time magazine cover that was completely photoshopped and turn them into a complete laughing stock to this PR nightmare trip to New York City, which is proven to be 100% self-serving. People are getting tired. They don't want your speeches. They don't want to watch you walk around in your $12,000 pantsuit. The funny thing is they don't understand why. They don't understand why they're getting the backlash. They really don't. They don't understand why people don't love them. Because they live in a bubble of their own reality of elitism, and they don't realize that the normal folk are just trying to survive out here. So the Sussexes are really, surprised that their trip was not a success, that they were receiving so much negativity, so much backlash. They can't figure it out. But what they fail to realize is they're so hypocritical and they're so tone deaf that people are just sick of it. You know, you can't do the do as I say and not as I do routine only so many times. The 21 private jet trips in 2 years, the crying on the Oprah Winfrey Show because your daddy cut you off after giving you $5 million and wouldn't make your son a prince, and the public wouldn't pay for your security, and then her walking around in her $60,000 wardrobe while she goes to a school and they donate 2 boxes of food. Again, it's just tone deaf. So I guarantee you the networks are probably second guessing, you know, are these two going to sell? Are people going to watch this show? You know, I'm sorry, but Netflix is not signing Harry and Meghan for $100 million for the Heart of Invictus and Pearl. Netflix signed them because they wanted the goods. They wanted the inside track. They wanted what they gave to Oprah Winfrey, but they wanted it on film. So Harry and Meghan are desperately trying to stay relevant because they got to sell. They got to sell those Netflix shows. I mean, they don't have the money in the bank. They could have signed a deal, but we all said when it comes to Netflix and Spotify, it's all about the ratings. So the paperwork is not signed. It's just a hypothetical. We're going to have a $100 million deal over 5 years, but you got to produce and they have to have ratings. So this New York City tour was very important for them because they needed that footage. Because let's be real, Netflix did not sign them for them to make little kiddie shows about Meghan as a 12-year-old superhero called Pearl. Snooze fest. They want the goods that they gave to Oprah Winfrey, but they want it on camera. So Harry and Meghan have to be very likable and very bankable. And now Netflix, I guarantee you, is kind of wondering, you know, these two are turning to be very toxic, very unpopular. They're turning into a laughingstock. Is anyone going to watch any of these shows? We're putting millions of dollars to these people, and if that show tanks, they may not be with Netflix anymore. So it is very important for them to come out looking like, you know, Ariel come to life on this docu-series. But Netflix and Spotify are not happy. It's been a year and a half and they produced nothing. And, you know, they gave them a really big advance and they're giving them a couple $1 million to produce these shows. So the Harkles are at a make or break moment. And that New York trip did not help them the way they thought it was going to help them. I'm sure they got some good footage and content that's going to be heavily edited. But mark my words, the Harkles are having a lot of royal regret because not only did they lose their popularity, Archie and Lily may not get titles. They may not even have the royal christening of their daughter, Lilibet Diana. The only person who really seems to care for them in the royal family is Her Majesty the Queen. And when she dies, they're not going to have any allies left in that royal family or anyone of any importance. Princess Eugenie, okay, fine, but she's not really important. She's not even a working royal. When it comes to Charles and William and Kate and Camilla and Princess Anne and Edward and Sophie, the Harkles are not good with them. And so after Her Majesty the Queen dies, they have no direct ties anymore to the royal family. So they need to get with Granny. They need to come over next month. They need to get that footage. They need to get that royal christening for Lilibet. They need to be seen at the royal jubilee. They need to get their foot back in with the royal family or their bankability is going to tank. But they made so many mistakes with the Oprah interview and the Dax Shepard interview that they may not be invited to the Royal Jubilee. And if Harry comes out with that new memoir and he starts trashing Charles and Camilla, it's not going to be good for their pocketbook. It's not going to be good. They might get that book advance, but the Netflix deal is going to tank. Mark my words. And Spotify is not, they haven't produced anything. Nothing since Christmas. So it sounds like the Harkles have all this money and all these deals, but the bench did not sell. It's sitting on the bench, literally. Okay, the bench is not a bestseller. They haven't even started production of Heart of Invictus yet or for Pearl, and they're losing popularity daily. They keep doing these stupid PR tours and these pictures on magazines. Harry and Meghan really just need to go into hiding until January because they're not helping themselves. Every time they turn around, they're doing something to make them more and more unlikable. So when they do come out with something for Netflix, it's not going to do well in the ratings. So in my opinion, Meghan and Harry really need this to make or break them for Netflix. This tour better have some positive, coverage and some content for them. But again, the press and the public are not on the side of the Sussexes. They've screwed the pooch with the press. They made enemies of the press, and they need the press to report on their stuff and to give them good ratings. But you guarantee it, the Sussexes have a lot of regret right now. And I bet you anything they wish they never did that interview, because the Oprah Winfrey interview did not help them at all. It did not help them. It was, in my opinion, it was probably their biggest mistake, and it's going to be their downfall. They're literally the house of cards. Instead of the house of Sussex, they are the house of cards. And when the money falls, Meghan is going to bail. There's going to be a divorce within the next 4 to 5 years when they're broke. Mark my words, the house of Harkles is going to fold. When the money leaves, Meghan's going to leave. And Harry's going to be sitting there holding the bag and hoping he's got a room at Windsor Castle, because he's going to be a very lonely person in about 4 or 5 years. A very broken person, a very broke person, and he's going to go through hell with Meghan. So what are your thoughts? Do you think that the Sussexes are having a royal regret on some of their past decisions? Do you think that Netflix is going to keep working with them? Are they going to be bankable? And do you think they got any real footage that's going to work for them for their docuseries out of New York City? Leave your comments down below. As always, I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you so much for stopping by my channel. I apologize, my voice keeps going out on me. I'm trying to work on it, and I have some more content coming your way. Be sure to check out my website, royaldailytea.com. And if you're not, go over and follow me on TikTok and Instagram. Thank you and have an amazing day.